What's up? My name is Jack, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about my experience with DPDR. Long story short, it lasted for me about 7 years, and I had accepted that this was my new life, and this just sucks. And here I am, maybe 8 or 9 years later, and I have fully recovered. I do not wake up every day feeling like I'm watching my life through a TV screen anymore, and it's awesome, and I'm very thankful that that era of my life has passed. So for those of you that might not know what DPDR is, just quick informational thing. It stands for Depersonalization, Derealization. Depersonalized, you don't feel like you're in your person, and Derealization, you don't really feel like it's real what's going on. And this is an affliction that affects plenty of people, and there's not a lot of documentation on it. It's kind of a nebulous thing, but it's a very scary, horrible, brutal, terrible experience. If you're someone that's experiencing this right now, whether it's new to you or it's old to you, let me be an example of hope that it won't last forever. So I'll just give you quickly what my timeline was, what happened to me. I was in college at the time. I probably was like 21 or something like that, maybe 22. I think I woke up, I was in bed with my girlfriend at the time. First thing in the morning, I opened my eyes. Like everything just seemed really surreal. I felt like I was 20 miles away from what was happening. I felt like I was watching my life through a TV screen. I felt like the three-dimensional world had become two-dimensional. I felt like I was playing my life through a video game, and it was very unpleasant and very uncomfortable. And so I, got up, I went to class, came home, went to sleep, woke up the next day, same thing. And then the next day, same thing. The next day, same thing. 1 year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, same thing. I wasn't doing very good, at the time. When it happened to me, I started freaking out. I had panic attacks. I was white knuckling it through every day. I convinced myself that I had a brain tumor. I went down the WebMD rabbit hole and to discover that you can confirmation bias your way into believing you have anything, like a brain tumor, because your symptoms might match what they say the symptoms are. So very dark time for me. Many years. The stress was affecting my body. I had really bad acne for a while there. It was definitely exhausting. I went on medication twice. The first medication I took didn't really do anything super practical, and then I went off medication for a couple of years and suffered through it, and then it happened again. I just I tapped out, and I went on another medication, and the second medication helped. I didn't like it. My eyes, I took Remeron, mirtazapine, I think is the generic name. And, I wake up in the morning and my eyes took a little bit to focus, and I didn't really like that. I don't really like being dependent on anything aside from myself. But I was on it for quite some time, maybe like a year and a half. And although the medication made me didn't really help with the surreal feelings, I felt kind of out of it when I was on it a little bit. It did really bring my average anxiety level down on a daily basis from here to here. I was no longer white knuckling my way through the day. And I think that was kind of the beginning of my recovery process. Fast forward a year and a half after I started taking the medication, I kind of just on my own just weaned myself off of the stuff. And, I found that, over the few years that followed, I wasn't experiencing DPDR every day anymore. Maybe it was, oh man, I haven't felt that in 3 days. Oh man, I haven't felt that in a week. And, oh man, I haven't felt like that in a month. And now it's more like I haven't felt that in a year. Ironically, I experienced it a little bit the other day, just this last weekend. I was at dinner and I was just whoa, this is happening. But it's just brief, and I think to a certain extent, regular people feel this way. People that don't have anxiety disorders or depression disorders can feel this way briefly, temporarily. They're hungover, they're on drugs, whatever, they're super tired. You can feel out of your body a little bit. It happens, but when it's happening all day, every day, that's DPDR. That's a serious affliction. So I've recovered, and I have some thoughts about what I think happened to me, what I think DPDR is, and hopefully have some words that might help you through your journey if you happen to be someone that is unfortunate enough, like I was, to be experiencing DPDR in the first place. So, I have an anxiety disorder. I've had anxiety since I was, a kid. I've been on medication before, briefly for it. Maybe not briefly, I don't know. Well, I've not been medicated my whole life, but I struggle with it. And when I say I struggle with it, I mean I fucking struggle with it. It's the worst part of my life, maybe. I think that my anxiety disorder, that kind of like software issue of the brain where, when you get scared about something or whatever that subject is, that thought spirals and becomes super big and just occupies your entire brain, and you can't think of anything else, and you have a panic attack and maybe throw up, and then you like chill out or whatever. That mechanism of like kind of this feedback loop kind of thing is I believe is what causes DPDR. Now, what do I mean by that? So it's a thing that affects your perceiving the world. You have two eyes, you have a retina. Those retina have like little cables that go to the back of your brain. Your brain interprets those electrical signals, goes to the little rigmarole, and suddenly you're perceiving you're in a three-dimensional space. You can throw a baseball across a field. It's kind of amazing, right? But this affliction kind of affects where your perception is kind of founded. It's a bit like you're like perceiving yourself, perceiving things. You're like looking at what you're looking at. It's kind of meta. It's kind of the looking glass self kind of deal. Maybe that doesn't apply to this, but basically, long story short is if you can stop paying attention to paying attention to things, if you can stop looking for the derealization, that's kind of step one. I know it's pretty asinine to tell anyone that has depression or anxiety to be like, just feel better or just chill out. It doesn't work like that, so I'm not telling you to just chill out about it. I'm just saying that like the more you think about or are anxious about the derealization, the more it just keeps throwing coal into the engine, of that experience. So, me being on medication and taking my anxiety level from here to here helped me get over DPDR because it kind of freed me up, I guess, to think about other things. When I was really anxious, I was anxious about the DPDR, super anxious about the DPDR. And once I got less anxious, I found that I was paying less attention to the DPDR. I was paying more attention to what I was doing. I was being present more. And even when I got off the medication, it wasn't easy. A lot of times I was feeling, anxious about it. But over time, it faded away. I'm not sure where you're at with your journey with this. Hopefully you're not experiencing it at all because it's horrible. But if you are, just know that my big wisdom takeaway thing is that it's kind of the Chinese finger trap kind of deal. But the way to, fix the trap is to, push it together and you can slide out. If you're constantly pulling away, if you're constantly looking for the DPDR, you're going to keep experiencing it. So I don't know if medication's the answer. Meditation is helpful just in terms of just shutting your mind off, for 30 seconds or a minute or 10 seconds or 10 minutes or whatever. I highly recommend taking a meditation class or two, just to give yourself a curriculum that holds you to, developing that muscle of just freeing yourself from the shackles of thought, you know. And you know, good luck. I had accepted that was the rest of my life, that I was going to be depersonalized forever, and it was really scary. But by accepting it, which is really hard, I think I kind of allowed myself to begin healing from it, to move on from being like, okay, this is a thing now, so I guess what else am I doing? Yeah, good luck. I hope that you recover like I did if you're someone that's going through this, and I hope that this was informative if you're somebody that knows somebody or loves somebody who is experiencing DPDR. There's hope, and there's a lot of, you know, things that can help. Medication that helps. Meditation also helps, and being aware of how the anxiety mechanism helps to facilitate DPDR in the first place helps. You know, I think I wish that I knew that when I was in the throes of it. Best of luck, and feel free to drop a comment below if you have any questions. And I'm seriously, like, I'm happy to answer anything, and I wish you the best.